introduce our faculty speaker today. Dr. Steve Stroud is not only a fine practitioner of integrative medicine and the healing arts, he is also an outstanding human being, what we would call a good man. Dr. Stroud has been a practitioner of integrative medicine and transformational work for over 30 years. His interest in healing began when he found that trauma left him with questions that traditional medicine could not answer. He has a varied background, including studies in polarity at the Polarity Institute, as well as the Biokinesiology Institute. He has a master's degree in acupuncture and a doctorate in naturopathic medicine. He has also continued advanced training in craniosacral therapy, transformational breath, and matrix energetics. He is also an accomplished astrologer and a minister. His creative interests include being outdoors, landscaping, playing the piano, guitar, and flute sometimes. He has designed and built his own home, and it's a beautiful home, I know, because I've stayed there when I've done BBSH presentations in Leavenworth, over the mountains. He's a very talented man. Currently, he is on the third-year teaching team here at BBSH. He is a Brennan integration practitioner and a supervisor. He has been in private practice for 23 years in Wenatchee, Washington, as well as Leavenworth. And he combines the best of energy, healing, and medicine. He works hard, plays hard, and power naps every day. So, Steve.
Speech, but I didn't, so I will do my best to work around what I've read. It is truly an honor for me to be here today with you. And whether you're graduating and walking across the stage or graduating and just being here, I have the deepest respect for you and the journey that you've been on. And I thank you for the efforts and the sacrifice that you've made to be here. And I extend my gratitude to your friends and family that have made this journey with you. His name was Buster, and he was truly one of my best friends. He died just a couple months ago. He lived, in human years, he lived to 84. In dog years, he lived to 12, but in my heart, he lives forever. I promised myself I wouldn't get too choked up. My experience with Buster makes me wonder which species is most evolved. I'll tell you why and what he taught me. The first thing he taught me was that he lived a good life. He lived a good life because he saw every day as a day full of adventure, whether it be chasing coyotes or laying in the tall grass. If I saw every day more as a day of adventure and less as a list of chores, I could indeed say I live a good life. Secondly, he was there for me every day, regardless of how I felt, how long I was gone, or where I'd been. When I came home, he showed up, and he was happy to see me. He taught me that the simple act of showing up lets another know just how much we care. The third thing, he lived in the present moment. In February, he was doing so poorly, we called the vet so she could come by and euthanize him. So the vet drives up. He runs out to meet her, wagging his tail, sniffing, happy to have some company come over. He was certainly not worried about what was to happen next. I can only pray that when I go out to face my own death, I do so with such curiosity and with such in-the-moment presence. And the fourth thing he taught me is that he held up unconditional love every moment. Sometimes when I'm having a good day, I can hold unconditional love for a few hours, maybe. For him, it was as natural as digging for gophers or barking at the neighbor's horse. Unconditional love on a cellular level, 24/7. If that were a PD skill here at the school, how many of us could pass? So human beings may be at the top of the evolutionary ladder, but my experience of the Buster life, a life full of adventure, of showing up, of being present, and of unconditional love, is something I think all of us human beings could strive for. There's an old proverb, and I know you've heard this one, it says, "May you live in interesting times." I think we could agree that we do indeed live in interesting times. Not only are human beings in a profound time of conscious evolution, but we are actually in a time of great revolution. The earth and the universe has signaled, to all of us on earth that the time has come for deep and powerful change. We have indeed entered into the Aquarian age, where the information moves from the hands of a few to the hands of the many, where the mystical secrets become revealed, and where we rise up against the chains of oppression, whether they be from an autocratic government or from the shackles of our own belief systems. It is really no accident, certainly no accident, that you've come to this place in your life at the exact moment that the earth is in such great need for healers, especially healers who have done their own transformational work and are ready, you're now ready to carry the torch of transformation and conscious evolution out into the world. You have truly accomplished a deep and unique training. And I can only guess, I know for sure, that you're not the same today as you were when you started this adventure all those years ago. You have indeed explored the evolution of the human spirit that the Barbara Brennan School of Healing offers. And you are healers. There's no question about it. And if there's any lingering doubt, I just say banish it from your brains. No lingering doubt. How do I know that you're a true healer? Because I've had the pleasure to be in your company. And I have seen and witnessed the depth of your own personal healing. It is through our own personal healing that we become true healers. I know that I am a healer quite simply because I am a healer. And like you, I continue to be engaged in that ever wondrous, often scary, never-ending process of healing. And because of that never-ending process, it's become clear to me that my role as a healer is to share in another's journey, not to carry their burden. And I know that the greatest healing gift I can give another is the gift of my presence. So if we take that all into account, perhaps the journeys that we have traveled are not so different. Because regardless of the country you come from, or the color of your skin, or the tone of your voice, or the length of your hair, whether you're tall or short, fat or skinny, happy or filled with turmoil, we are not so different. Regardless of the God you worship, or the food you eat, or the language that you speak, you and I are not so different. I say this only as a reminder to what you already know. But as you graduate from this school, and you move out into the world, you will continue to have countless opportunities to visit your defense. And in that defense, when you experience conflict from another, be it from hurt or anger or projection, and you begin to blame the other, I encourage you not to remember what is so different between you, but what as human beings we all share in common. Yes, each one of us is unique, but perhaps we are not so different, you and I. For the color of your tears are no different than the color of mine. And it is the human smile that speaks the universal language of love. So here we are, at this great juncture of your life. But I have some news for you. There's always a catch, right? At each juncture of our evolution or revolution, the universe will demand more of us. It will demand greater diligence to the noble truths and profound wisdom that lies yet to be discovered on our journey through this life. When you say you are aware, I honor and recognize the arduous path that you have taken. Yet we have to understand and recognize that awareness in and of itself is not the end point, but only a stepping stone or a platform towards even greater enlightenment. And I define enlightenment simply as bringing consciousness to the fact that everything is important and nothing matters. Or as Byron Katie says, if you think you're enlightened, you'll love having your car towed away. Let me expand on what I mean here. As Chiomi mentioned, I've been in practice for 23 years. I'm still practicing. I love that word, practice. And I think it's important to remember that you're Brennan Healing Science practitioners. You're not Brennan Healing Science perfectionists. So there's nothing here about having to be perfect. So set aside any old beliefs you have that you have to be perfect before you can practice your trade. So as I was saying, I've been in practice for 23 years. I've learned a lot from my practice and my patients. And in fact, if you pay attention, of course, your patients will teach you something each and every day. I had this one patient who taught me about the true practice of faith and enlightenment. He and his wife had spent 40 years gathering antiques and collectibles to put into his home. And when he was 60 years old, he and his wife built their dream home and moved his 40-year collection of antiques and collectibles into it. The next day, he and his wife drive to town just to do some errands. When they come home, the house is ablaze. It is on fire. And despite the best efforts of the fire crew, it eventually burns to the ground. He told me, and this is true, he told me that once the fire was out, but even before the smoke had cleared, he got down on his knees and he thanked the Lord. That in his own way, he knew what was important. And what was important was his relationship to the greater mystical journey or the spiritual path. And I thought to myself, I thought two things. I thought, one, here is truly a man of faith. And two, here is a demonstration of the practice of enlightenment. He knew that his possessions were important, and they didn't matter. His life was not defined by his material possessions, and thus he was free. He was liberated. He surrendered to that moment, that present, precious moment, where by all accounts, he had lost everything. Perhaps it is the nature of the universe to take everything away and then to calmly ask, do you have faith? So where, I ask you, in this present precious moment, in this moment in your life, and in this time and place, is the universe asking you, do you have faith? But I implore you, I beg you please, do not put your faith in anything. Do not put your faith in yourself. Don't put your faith in your partner, or the universe, or even God. For putting faith in something allows for someone or something to fail you. And it allows for the seeds of blame and disappointment to take root and grow. So I say, have faith as one would have breath. Breathe faith as one would breathe air. For the embodiment of faith and intention, effort and acts of love are the underpinnings of the creative life force. So, here we are at this end of this part of your life's journey. Some of you, no doubt, maybe many of you, no doubt, wondering, now what? Is that here? Any of that? The great American philosopher Joseph Campbell states, if you can see your path laid out in front of you step by step, you know it's not your path. He continues, your own path you make with every step you take. That's why it's your path. That's why he's the great American philosopher. He also says, follow your bliss. He says, if you follow your bliss, you put yourself on the kind of track that has been there all the while waiting for you. And the life you ought to be living is the life you are living. And when you can see that, you begin to meet people who are in the field of your bliss, and they open doors for you. He says, follow your bliss and don't be afraid. And doors will open where you didn't know they were going to be. If you follow your bliss, doors will open that wouldn't have opened for anyone else. So in closing, almost closing, a couple more pages. I do want to acknowledge that you have immersed yourselves into the territories of personal transformation, and that takes great courage. Moving through fears and obligations, gathering guides and mentors, you have crossed the threshold time and time again and left behind the familiar to venture into new and unknown territories. That's what you did on the first day that you enrolled here, and whether you know it or not, you have done it every day since. Yes, it takes great courage, which you have demonstrated. You have found the place where the pureness of spirit has met the blood and the sweat and the tears of what it is to be human. And whether you have crossed the street or crossed the ocean to be here, you have demonstrated your strength not by holding on, but by letting go. And letting go you certainly have. Perhaps it is the nature of the universe to take everything away and then to calmly ask, do you have faith? To take away our loved ones, our homes, our jobs, even our dreams. To take away that which we have identified ourselves as. You might ask, who am I without you, without my home, without the me I thought I was? When the very core of the ground upon which we stand moves violently beneath our feet, and the walls of who we are in every known sense of safety gets washed out into the depths of the ever-changing sea, the universe will calmly ask, do you have faith? times in your life when the pain in your life tears at the fabric of your soul and your heart begins to break? I say let it break. I say let it break open. I say let some new light in. Let the winds of change loft your sails and move you into territories unknown and destinations yet to be charted. My highest recommendation and my deepest prayer, I say to you now, follow your creative impulse. Follow that which interests you. Follow your bliss. I say to you, live the Buster life. A life full of adventure, of showing up, of being present, and of unconditional love.